What's up guys, Shaka from Mind's Eye Status. In this video, I'm going to share with you how to effectively and pretty much effortlessly build a high level network in Dubai. And you can do this in any city, by the way. I'm going to share with you my experience in Dubai because I moved here exactly 11 months ago, actually. And I've built a very solid social circle and business circle for myself. And I'm going to share with you 4 easy steps on how to make friends with very, very high level people, high status individuals, both business wise, but also personally. Let's get into it. The first one is a method of networking that I feel like not enough people talk about. When you read all of these personal development books, it's almost become a cliche to hear your network becomes your net worth. You become the average of the 5 people you hang around. And the mistake that I see people make is try to go to low quality networking events that are usually free or less than $100. They go in and then all of a sudden they're surrounded by real estate agents. Nothing against real estate agents, but they're surrounded by real estate agents or not so successful people who are all trying to pitch each other. What I don't see people doing, and this is the thing that I don't think enough people talk about, is paying good amounts to be part of a high value network. Here's what I mean by that. For example, before I moved to Dubai, I used to watch the content of William Brown, who is, for those of you who don't know, he's a good friend of mine now, but he's also a very successful entrepreneur, business owner, and business coach. And when I was in Thailand before moving to Dubai, I wanted to work with him. And I know working with Will is not cheap, nor should it be cheap. So before even coming to Dubai, I invested in his program. I became part of his mastermind. And when I came to Dubai, I even paid more to be personally coached by him and to be part of his his in-person mastermind events. Now, here's the thing. I paid a lot of money to be in that circle. And when I would go to these mastermind events, I became friends with people there, which expanded my network. And I became very good friends with Will himself, to the point where often we go out for dinner together, we get cigars, and now we have a personal relationship aside from the business side of things. So once I paid to be in that circle, not only did I become friends with Will, but Will introduced me just over cigars, had nothing to do with business, introduced me to one of his friends, whose name is Lawrence Thomas, who I did a podcast with as well. And now Lawrence is one of my best friends in Dubai, and we catch up regularly, even with our wives. We go out, they come over, we play board games, things like this. So I paid to be in that network. And in fact, I've done this in the past as well for different business masterminds. By the way, even if you're not an entrepreneur, it doesn't have to be a business mastermind. It can be any kind of personal development mastermind. Once you pay into it, there's that barrier to entry. Once you're willing to pay into it, you're going to be surrounded by people who are also willing to invest in themselves. And that says a lot about the individuals that are in that environment. And by the way, I want to share some examples of how this type of networking ends up making you more money as well. So as most of you know, I blew up on Instagram. I have over 300,000 followers on Instagram. YouTube is growing. You guys are one of the new ones here. So thank you so much for that. Be sure to like and comment if you're enjoying this content. But let me give you a real life example of how I benefited monetarily with networking like this. So met Will, met Lawrence. One day, Lawrence and his wife were over for dinner, and after dinner, I said to him, it was just off the top of my head. I wasn't even planning this. I said, hey man, I'm planning on running some ads to my Instagram audience. I'm already really good with my organic audience, large following, but I want to start attracting clients through paid ads. And he's very good at that. So he said, sure. He came, we sat literally here in this office. I showed him my ad and my funnel, and he gave me 3 or 4 little tweaks in my VSL, in my website, which ended up converting so many more people. And those conversions that he helped me with ended up helping me make about $30,000 on top of everything else that I was making. just in 1 month. So that was one very, very real benefit, very financial benefit from networking. And by the way, we'll get into the mistakes that people make a little bit later, but I want to make this very clear. I did not and do not have the intention of making friends just so I can make more money. That's a big mistake that people make, and people can smell that from a mile away. So that's my first tip. I hope you're writing this down, by the way. Pay to get into the network. It's the easiest way to network in any city. The second is be proactive with meeting people. So when you go out to dinner, for example, you don't know the chain effect that these dinners and events will have. I once went to another event. It was on a yacht, and I met a gentleman. His name's Adam Nasser, who ended up becoming a very good friend of mine as well. Now, Adam Nasser is a multimillionaire. He retired at, I think it was 35 years old or something. Very, very young, retired. Multimillionaire, very successful, materialistically has everything he could ever ask for. This is the type of guy that gets hit up a lot. When I met him on the yacht, I kind of knew that, but I didn't even ask him about his business. When he told me about it, I congratulated him genuinely from my heart, but I didn't ask him about business, financial advice, anything like that. I was just cool. I was just being myself. In fact, I even remember cracking a joke, making fun of him lightly, and he's confident enough to take it, and he took it really well, and he appreciated that. So he said, let's connect, man. Let's get a coffee. We connected on WhatsApp. Literally the following night, he messaged me saying, hey, Shako, I have a dinner with high-level men that I'd love to invite you to. Now, before I get to that dinner, which has a chain effect, by the way, a butterfly effect, let me tell you what I did. The second point is be proactive. Be proactive with introducing yourself. Too many people I see at networking events or random social events have their phone in their hand, and they're just like holding a drink, maybe standing in one corner, not doing anything, not being proactive. And then they wonder why their social circle sucks. So Adam invited me to this dinner. I get there, and there was a gentleman there who I had been following on social media, actually. His name's Jules Sullivan. Many of you probably know him as Sartorial Shooter. Extremely popular guy worldwide, but also especially in Dubai. I was sat across the table from Jules, and he asked me, he said, so what do you do? And I told him I'm an executive communication coach. I focus on social intelligence. And him being part of military intelligence, social intelligence was a huge part of what he does. In fact, he used to teach it. So he was very curious about it. And he said to me, you know what? I actually have events at my tailor shop with a big group of people. Why don't you come do a talk for us? Wow, there's an opportunity. Obviously, free event. I'll go, I'll speak, get some exposure as well. A few weeks later, I did that. Ended up becoming friends with Jules, built a good connection there. At the event, not only did I get an opportunity to public speak, but I ended up getting one client from that. Actually, no, 2 clients from that. And later that night, he invited me to go spend time with him at a private members club. At that dinner, later that same night, I met one of his friends, Dario Quacquarelli, who ended up being a client of mine, and now we're good friends as well. So that one connection led to about $27,000 just from that one connection at that dinner. Again, I wasn't looking for this. I was simply proactive when I met Adam on the yacht, and when I met Jules Sullivan at that dinner. I was proactive with my communication, with expressing myself, and he appreciated that. So I made a very good impression. By the way, all of this is not going to work if your communication skills suck. So first and foremost, work on your communication skills. You can work on it with us if you like. If you want private coaching, we're doing free 10-minute communication audits for some of our followers and watchers. You can book a free call with us in the description below. So go ahead and do that. So that's the second point. Be proactive with building connections. All right. The third point is something that, again, not enough people utilize, and that is social media. I have another good friend that I've made. Everybody that I've mentioned so far, I have great relationships with. And this is in the first year of being in a new city, in a new country, from zero, okay? Instagram. By the way, you should optimize your Instagram so it looks good. You don't have to have a large following. You don't have to have Lamborghinis on your account. Just look professional. Not even professional, just look cool and interesting. Look like you have your own interest. That's why else would you have Instagrams? Just so you can consume other people's content. Become a producer, not a consumer. I remember seeing a follow from an interesting looking guy, and I saw he was in Dubai. Shout out Mehdi Mullions. And I saw he was a business coach. I saw he had some interesting lifestyle, and he just seemed like a cool guy. So I don't even remember what compelled me to do this, but I just randomly messaged him one night saying, "Hey man, I've only been in Dubai for a few months. You seem like a cool guy. Would love to get a coffee with you." And by the way, you can do this when you have a cool looking account. If you have nothing on your profile, it's creepy if you do this. But if they can see your personality on your social media, then they see it, they check it out. That introduces you for you, and then they end up responding positively. So he replied saying, "Hey man, yeah, let's do it. Let's grab dinner." And we ended up doing that, and now we're good friends. And the final tip that I'll give you for now, I think I might have a couple more in my mind, but for now, the final tip is a fun one actually, and I would encourage anybody to try this, especially if you're looking to improve your communication skills. And if you're following me, it's very likely that you're on your way to becoming a grounded communicator. And that is podcasting. Either inviting people onto your podcast or offering to be a guest on other people's podcast. One of the best connections that I've made in Dubai is with a very, very good friend of mine now, Tomo Marjanovic, who was in Dubai. He travels in and out of Dubai. He was in Dubai. I had been following him for a while on Instagram. And when I saw that he landed in Dubai, I was literally sitting at a cafe with my wife, and I just sent him a message. In fact, I'll put a screenshot up, but I sent him a message saying, "Hey, love your stuff. If you're in Dubai, let's do a podcast." And he literally replied on the spot. It was like a minute later saying, "Hey man, I would love to. Let's do tonight if you can, because I'm leaving tomorrow," or something like that. Boom. Organized it immediately with my assistant. Got a place set up that same evening. And we did the podcast. And before and after the podcast, we were going back and forth having some banter. And we realized that we both had very similar values and very similar sense of humor as well. So we ended up becoming good friends, and now there are even business opportunities happening between us. So, and not to mention how close we are as friends. We talk about spirituality, we talk about business, finances, family, and I would consider him a close friend now. There are so many examples of this happening. Another one actually from social media was becoming friends with Charlie Johnson, who I was chatting with before moving to Dubai. Charlie Johnson, huge following on social media and huge guy as well. This guy's buff. And when we met for the first time, he brought one of his friends with him, who is Nick Santanastaso. Huge inspiration. If you guys don't know him, you should check him out, with his manager, Ratmeow. And I'm very good friends with them now as well. And that's created more opportunities between us. So just to summarize so far, pay to be in the circle. Easiest way. Be proactive with your connections by meeting people. Reach out on social media and have your account polished. Not too polished. Make it look human as well. And fourthly, podcasts. Now I'm going to talk about some mistakes. This video is a little bit longer than usual, but I think you guys are going to benefit from this value. Again, if you're enjoying this, please do subscribe and like. And if you want to work with us, book that call with us in the description before we take that link away. We're not going to keep it forever. So the mistakes that people make. Number one, biggest mistake people make when networking is trying to prove themselves. I don't go to regular networking events anymore, by the way, because they usually suck. I know that might sound counterintuitive. This is a video about how to network, and I'm telling you not to go to networking events. Just be choosy, be picky with what kind of events you want to go to. Because usually the ones that I've been to, not all of them, but some that I've been to, especially the free ones or the very cheap ones, it's just full of low quality people. I know that sounds harsh, but what I mean by that is people who are trying to sell themselves, trying to prove themselves, and just take. Whereas the high level events where you usually pay a little bit more or where you're invited exclusively, in those events, people are at a higher level as well. You can, for example, pay to be part of a private members club. Go to a mastermind that'll cost, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 grand. Usually they're much more, but even if you go to one that costs like 2, 3 grand, you're going to meet incredible people at that event. So the mistake is trying to prove themselves. They go to the event and they're constantly trying to prove how much money they have, what they do for business, how impressive they are, this and that. Okay? That's the first mistake. The second mistake is not having great communication skills. It's obvious. Surprise, surprise. It's talking too much. It's having bad body language. It's not holding eye contact. It's not truly listening. I've been to so many networking events where I'd be talking to the person and they're looking away, looking distracted. What kind of impression are you making? Right? And of course, when you go to these events, make sure you look good. Dress well, smell good, be groomed, don't look tacky, look presentable. If you follow these steps, you will make friends. You will. And by the way, you can even do this outside of business. As I said, my wife goes to art classes. She goes to random yoga classes. She's made friends that way. She recently made 2 friends from a emotional intelligence course that she's a part of. Invest in yourself. Don't be afraid. Many of my clients are now friends of mine, especially the ones who are here in Dubai. I wouldn't say especially. Even when I travel to a country that a client's at, we end up meeting. We all become friends. So that is a very, very easy way to expand your network. Anyway, I hope this was valuable for you guys. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this type of content, sharing a lot of personal stories. I will see you guys next week. Ciao.